A tough game for the Warriors last night. Yes, they lost to the Rockets, but they also lost Jimmy Butler to injury in the first quarter. You see it right there. He went down very hard on his backside. Obviously was in pain, shot 2 free throws and then was done. He is scheduled for an MRI today. The series, by the way, is tied and will resume on Saturday. So let's bring the Hall of Famer back in, Michael Wilbon. I don't know, give me a percentage, Wilbon, of Jimmy Butler that they would need in order to advance in this series. Because we know he won't be 100, but like where could we get him at?
Ellis, you got to be north of 80%. I mean, remember, before Jimmy Butler went to the Warriors, that team was 25-27.
Yep.
So if you tell me that Jimmy Butler's got to miss more than a couple of games, I'm looking at this being a wrap. And I'm one of those people who's very bullish on the Warriors with Jimmy Butler playing, of course, with Steph and Draymond. But, there's so much that he does for that team now, and they work so well together. Rare that you see chemistry develop almost instantly among veteran players like that. When Jimmy went down last night, it just, every time I see it, I still react. That fall was so hard. So suppose, though, the Warriors could split games in San Francisco if he needs to miss the next 2. If they can get 2-2 and get back to Houston with Jimmy Butler coming back for a game 5 and the rest of the series, okay. If it's beyond that, I don't know. But as Draymond Green said, if you ask Jimmy Butler right now how you feeling, he's going to say, I'm going to play. That's because that's who Jimmy Butler is. We've known that for more than a dozen seasons. So, but they need him. They need him. It's hard for me to see the Golden State Warriors advancing, even past the neophyte Houston team, without Jimmy Butler, and I hope it doesn't come to that.
In particular, they need him defensively, as you mentioned. Warriors allow 20 more points per 100 possessions when he is off the court as opposed to when he is on the court. Of course, you're everyone's favorite generalist, and we already know that you're a huge Bears fan. And so we're going to
start with the Houston Rockets beating the Golden State Warriors 109-94. And we're going to talk about the injury to Jimmy Butler that happened in the first quarter, pelvis contusion, another pelvis contusion for the Warriors. So they're kind of cursed with that this year. Everybody put a pad on your backside if you're on the Golden State Warriors. But Jalen Green, 38 points. This is where I want to start. 38 points, 8 3-pointers, 8 of 18, and he also had 6 assists. We were hard on him in the last game. We didn't like his decision-making. We thought he pressed the envelope a little bit. This was a course correction in this game because I thought he played phenomenal. Even good defense on Steph Curry. Had a couple big-time plays, including an early steal that I thought set the tone. But was it a great bounce-back performance from him, or did he make threes tonight? How do you evaluate his game?
I think it's probably, for me, second in terms of most important performance we've had in the postseason. I would probably put Kawhi Leonard's performance against Denver first, because I think that series, every game is going to be a 1-possession game, I believe, in the fourth quarter. I don't see those teams running away from each other. So what Kawhi Leonard did in that game to get that win, already down 1-0, you lose a tough one in overtime. I mean, if Kawhi Leonard is even just average in game 2, they're down 2-0 right now to Denver. And it's tough to come back from that against a team that good. So I'd put that one. I'd put this 2, because for Houston, same thing. If you lose and you go down 0-2 and now you got to go on the road, now right, the Jimmy Butler thing might change a little bit of that equation, but still, are you really coming back from that? Down 0-2, going on the road, you got to play 3 more times potentially in Golden State? I don't think so. So that's why I think what he did last night was critical to the Rockets having a chance to win the series. And I give him credit, man. Pat him on the back. He had a very good year. I know he can be frustrating at times for a lot of people, probably particularly Rockets fans. He's very explosive, though, very talented, and overall had a very good year. There's no other way to put it. He was not good in game 1. He looked a little overwhelmed by everything that was going on, the pressure of playing in the postseason, who they were playing against. He didn't hit shots early in the game, and he pressed the entire game, and he had a brutal night. And they lose a very hard-fought, tight game that he doesn't really contribute in at all. That's not easy to turn right back around and then to have the kind of performance you did in game 2 with so much on the line. So this was Jalen Green at his very best that we saw in the regular season. And it is very hard for young players to do that. Yet he did it, man. He was the story of the game other than the Butler injury. He's the story of the game. And like I said, I think maybe the second most impactful performance I've seen in the playoffs to this point.
It really was huge. He's the guy that he almost reminds me of Michael Porter in this one way. his jumper is so perfect and so balanced that I just think it's going, when he gets a clean look, when it's like a decent shot, I always feel like it's going in because he has such incredible balance. And then he mixes that with this like Zach LaVine level first burst, his quick first step, and then his explosion. So it was a really impressive one from him to get 38 points and to carry him on this. And that 3-point shooting, obviously this is a series where the losing team has scored. Well, actually last game, the Warriors scored 95 in one. So this is a game where if you get over 100, you're going to have a great chance of winning. 8 of 18 from 3 is huge. But the guy who's dominating this series for the Rockets, even through the last game, who we didn't talk about and people got really mad, was Alperen Şengün, 17, 16, and 7 last night. The Warriors are small. We know this. They're compromised a little bit at height. They make up for it other ways. So you have to have somebody bully. He bullied in game 1, but he was the only one. He did it again in this game. And his physicality and his ability to score, even on Draymond, to me, is something that if you're a Warriors fan, you take note of like, hey, even in the game we won, Şengün had his way inside.
He did. They don't have an answer for him. Even the physicality of Draymond Green, and he's going to be potentially going to be the defensive player of the year. Yeah. And he gets into him and he bangs him. He does all the stuff that, you want, but it's at the end of the day, he's just a lot smaller. And the thing about Şengün, like, you're not going to hit him so much and get physical with him to the point where he's just going to play the game you want him to play, which is more perimeter based, speed things up a little bit, get rid of the ball because he's pressured. He's just going to keep playing at his speed. He's going to back you down. And then he's got a ton of skill, footwork, touch, and passing. He's got all of that stuff at the end of it. So there's not really any particular matchup. And so for Golden State to have enough of an effect on him to win the series, they've got to continue to mix their coverages and how they hit him and try to confuse him a little bit. But the 2 games, you're right. I mean, Şengün has been every bit as good as he was in the regular season. And he's a guy that I think when the all-league teams are announced, he's got a shot at making third team. I think he's got a really good shot. Which is interesting because they're second seed and we're wondering, is anybody going to make an all-league team? It'll be him, if anybody. And I think he's shown you in these first 2 games why. He's such a steadying presence, and he is the one guy I think the Warriors probably feel like we can't affect all that much. I think the other guys, they feel like they're young. They'll play too fast. There's certain things you can do to make them make mistakes. Şengün's not going to make those mistakes. He's steady. I think he's going to continue to do this throughout the series. The question is going to just remain, I think game by game, who steps up for which team. But I think Şengün's stat line, I'm pretty confident I can pencil that thing in somewhere around 20 points, somewhere around 12 to 15 rebounds, and somewhere around 5 to 7 assists for the most part with efficiency. That's what he's going to do every game.
Yeah. What I love is when a team, especially in the playoffs, they have an identity that they've cultivated that usually mirrors their leaders. In this case, Ime Udoka. He's a tough guy. He wants physicality. He's been talking about it all year long. This is his personality. This team embodies it. And if there were a couple players I would point out that really embodied it, it's Dillon Brooks and Amen Thompson. You could even go down to Tari Eason, Steven Adams. I mean, they got a lot of guys, but those 2, Dillon Brooks and Amen Thompson, are making this series ridiculously physical. Then you pair that obviously with Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green. But those 2 guys brought the physicality. Jalen Green even brought it. And I know that's the big storyline